I Baruch Shechianu, V'kiyamanu, V'yanu Lazman Hazeh, to the completion of Masechtas Avoda Zara. I had oral surgery, so my voice might sound funny now on both accounts. I have a cold and I had a tooth extracted, but Baruch Hashem. We thank our loyal sponsor, Yisrael Fisher, Lila Nishmas Basi Bas Robert, Shlomo Ben Avram Alevi, Perel Bas Ruvain, and our loyal anonymous sponsor, Lila Nishmas David Ben Chaim, Lefur Shalem Fel Yoim Moshe Ben Chai Zara, Yaakov Ben Bas Yaleah, the schus of Avram Ben Yom Benish Ben Malki Yudis and family, Yoel Klugman and family, and the first Shalema from Shmei ben Esther Fradel, Avidaraya ben Rivka, Hinda bas Chaya Zara, Rivka bas Shira Leah, and Meir ben Chaya Zara. They should have a Refuah Shalema b'Seich Shachar Yisrael. So the Masechta ends off Halikeach Klei Tashmish Min Ha'ovdei Kachavim. If somebody buys from a pagan food utensils, so if it's brand new, so eshedarka lahatpil yatpil. So then all it needs is tfilas kalim to be immersed, and you could use it. If it was used by the guy with hot, so lahagil yagil, that needs purging with hot water. You do purging without water. Lalabin ba'or, that which was used on the fire, yalabin ba'or. You burn it with the fire, and you then toivel it. So, for example, ashpud, a spit, va'askala, and a grill, malabnon ba'or. You kasher it with fire. Now, hasakin, a knife that doesn't have holes, so there's a unique way. Shafa, you put it in the ground 10 times in 10 different places, or you grind it on a whetstone, b'hitayra, and that kashes it. Otherwise, you do leaving with it.
It has to be 10 different places, correct?
That's what I just said. Hadrun alach Masechtas Avoda Zara, Hadrun alach Masechtas Avoda Zara, Hadrun alach Masechtas Avoda Zara. To the start of Pirkay Avos. This is very exciting. For the next few weeks, we will be learning 2 Mishnayos of Pirkay Avos every day. Somebody wants to be pious, let him learn Pirkay Avos. Because we're learning Pirkay Avos, I had an idea that in the few minutes that we speak before Svira, I would start a series called Quick Thoughts on Pirkay Avos. So that's what we'll do after we finish Mariv. So the Mishnah, which is well known to everybody, is Moshe Kibbel Torah Sinai. Now the reason why it says this in the beginning of this Masechta and not in the beginning of Brachas, I mean, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi started the oral law with Brachas. So this would be the good introduction. The answer is that the Chiddush is, although in the Goyish world there were also philosophers that had books on philosophy, so one might think that these are opinions, human opinions. It can be further from the truth. This is all Messiah. It's not Hillel's opinion and Shammai's opinion and Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai's opinion. This is all Messiah. Moshe Kibbel Torah Sinai. He got the Torah from Sinai and Masar Yeshua. He gave it to Yeshua. Of course, he gave it to Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu taught all of Klal Yisrael. But Yeshua was his most ardent student. Yeshua ben Nun lo yomish mitoicha oyel, and therefore he absorbed more from Moshe Rabbeinu than anyone else. Yeshua was a Canaan. Yeshua gave it to the elders. Now the elders, the they got it, and they will eventually give it over to the prophets. The first prophets were Eli and Shmuel, and they lasted for hundreds of years till the time of the Anshe Knesset G'dayla of the Second Temple. The body of 120 people of the Anshe Knesset G'dayla were made up of the greatest of the great, Ezra, Zerubbabel, Mordechai. Well, we know some of the Zakanim because they're in the chain of the Messiah.
Are they the Shaitim?
Well, they were before the Shaitim. We know it in the chain of the Messiah. You look at the Rambam, in the beginning of the Rambam, he gives the full chain of the Messiah. Now, as I was saying, the Anshe Knesset G'dayla was comprised of Ezra, of Mordechai, of Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi, the greatest of the great. Heim Amru, and they said Shleisha Dvarim. Here the advice starts. Having Misunim Badin, be deliberate in judgment, even though you had the same case, but analyze it on all sides to see if it's different. Va'amidu Talmidim Harbe, and have many disciples. In other words, even though you had disciples when you were young, make disciples later on when you're old, and have as many as you can. And this is advice would be very appropriate for Rabbi Kiva. He had 24,000 Talmidim, and then later he would teach the 7 Talmidim or 5 Talmidim in the Doraim, including Reb Meir, and that would ensure the continuity of Klal Yisrael, of Torah. V'asus yogla Torah, and make a fence around the Torah. In other words, make safeguards. For example, we have many safeguards in Shabbos. And one of the reasons of Muksa is that a klei shemalachta le'isur is aser, a pen is aser, a hammer is aser, you shouldn't come to do malacha. That's an example of a siyag la-Torah. I would also like to mention that now the Seder of events is we'll have Mariv, Tilim for Eretz Yisrael. We celebrate a release of another hostage, Baruch Hashem. Our tefillah should continue to be poyel. There's also a lot of Bi'ar Torah Mikirbecha, with almost every day killers being eradicated, which is definitely a good thing, and it's a result partially from our tefillahs, and we should say the tefillahs with feeling. Then we will have a few words on Pirkay Avos.
Rabbi, before you say that, these advice seem to be for the elite. Is that true? In the first Mishna?
No, absolutely not. Hasus Yagla Torah is surely not for the elite.
The other two?
No, we'll talk about that afterwards. Reb Chanani ben Akasha Amar,